Hello and welcome to Ask the Therapist. I am that therapist, Jonathan Decker. We polled our Mended Light community on what you wanted to pick my brain about. And today's question, how long should I date before getting married? What's the threshold, right? And so that I know this is going to be a healthy relationship that's going to last. Well, it's not about timeline, it's about doing it right. I'll tell you what I mean after the jump. Listen, folks, I've been on this planet for 40 years. 40 years. My life is about halfway done. Seen a lot of things, experienced a lot of things, both personally and vicariously. One thing that I've seen is that there is no specific timeline for if you date someone this long, you are going to have a healthy, successful relationship. What I have seen, however, is outliers. My sister met the man she was going to marry and married him 2 months later. Their dating was 2 months. Their engagement was like 6 weeks of that. That is rolling the dice. And it worked really well for her. They've been together 20 plus years. They're very happily married. But that's a do you feel lucky type of situation, because very, very often those rushed courtships come at the price of not really actually knowing each other. While there is no exact timeline, I can tell you what checkpoints and markers you want to pass through to maximize the odds that you're going to have a healthy, lasting relationship. There's a great book. It's called How to Avoid Falling in Love with a Jerk, written by Dr. John Van Epp. Takes you through these steps. First of all, he talks about knowing, trusting, relying, committing, and touching. Right? These are the phases that we pass through. And this isn't like an ice tray where you get to know somebody perfectly and then you start to trust them and then you rely on them and then you commit and then you touch. It doesn't just spill over once you hit the top. But they are going together simultaneously, and you want a downward slope. What I mean by that is you should know somebody more than you trust them. You should trust them more than you rely on them more than you're committed, and commit more than you touch. Or a more clear way to phrase that, don't be physically involved, don't touch more than your level of commitment. Don't commit to somebody more than you can rely on them. Don't rely on somebody more than you trust them, and don't trust somebody more than you know them. So what does that actually mean? Well, to really get to know somebody, you need three things: talk, togetherness, and time. Talk speaks for itself. It's actual conversation, honest conversation, getting to know each other, being vulnerable, being raw, being real, and letting the walls down. Because the last thing you want is to put on airs or pretend to be somebody you're not in order to win somebody over, win the other person over. Because what's going to happen? They're going to fall in love with a facade. Far better to lose somebody than to have them fall in love with a version of you that's not even real. So talking is important. Togetherness is time in the same geographic space, because right now, you all are seeing, what we are controlling. You're seeing what we want you to see. You don't see what's going on over here. If you and I were talking over webcam, you wouldn't see. If I'm wearing basketball shorts, my space might look very clean. You wouldn't see that it's a huge mess over there. You wouldn't see how I interact with my family, with my friends, how I am in different circumstances. You would see this controlled space. That's why you can talk to somebody a lot over the phone or over webcam and think you actually know them, but you don't, because you haven't had the time together. So talk, togetherness, and the last one is time. So this is more to the point of the question that was asked: how long should I date before I marry? Well, the bare minimum to actually know somebody, this isn't you know them so get married, but the bare minimum to actually know somebody is 90 days. It takes at least 3 months for a person to show you who they really are. And that's if they're a decent person and they're not trying to trick you. If they're actually trying to deceive you, you might have to go a lot longer than that because they're doing the long con. Put it this way, I was not trying to deceive my wife when we were dating. The first time I had her over for dinner, my apartment was cleaner than it had been in months. I mean, I always kept it picked up, but it was vacuumed, it was dusted, right? Everything was sprayed down and wiped down. Everything was just immaculate. And I made sure that I was nicely shaved. I was wearing my best shirt. Maybe did some push-ups before she got over, so I looked really swole. Just kidding. Actually, I might have done that. Anyways, so then she shows up. She's wearing makeup. She's got a nice dress. And you might say that was deception. I say best foot forward. She didn't show up in sweatpants and a t-shirt with no makeup and her hair done in a bun saying, "This is me." I didn't open the door in basketball shorts with an apartment that wasn't vacuumed and cleaned up and said, yep, well, this is what you have to look forward to. We wanted to make a good first impression. For the first 90 days, people tend to not show you their angry side. They tend to not show you their vulnerable side, their sad side. They really, really want to impress you, and they want you to see the best of them. And that's true almost regardless of who you're dealing with. It's only after about 3 months of real contact and connection that people start to let the walls down and show you who they really are. Now, that's not an exact number for every person on the planet, but that is what the research suggests. Talk, togetherness, and time. So if you met someone at the laundromat and you talked all night long, by sunrise, you might think you're in love. You might think you really know this person. You don't. You had talk and togetherness, but not time. If you meet someone on the other side of the world online and you're talking for months and months and months and months and months, if you're not actually in the same place, you don't truly know them. Talk, togetherness, time. He also talks about trust. We don't trust people. We trust this image in our head of who we think they are. We get some evidence, a couple of observations, and we start to build a picture of who we think this person is. We don't trust people. We trust that image. That's why when someone betrays us, we say, you're not who I thought you were. So you need to take the time to compare what you're actually seeing with this image in your head, this idea in your head, and see if they line up, and be constantly changing this idea of who this person is based on the evidence. And the real question is, do you love the person that you are seeing? Far too often we have an idea in our head of who we want this person to be, and we start to disregard red flags and other things to the contrary, and other evidence to the contrary because of what we want and because of what we believe we can create. But again, it's far better to be real. Just like you don't want someone to fall for a fake version of you, you don't want to fall for a fake version of somebody else, even if it's one you created up here. Relying on someone to meet your needs, relying on them to be who you think they are, to see if they will follow through. Commitment is how exclusive you are. How exclusive you are. And again, you don't want to be more committed than you actually know a person, can trust them, and rely on them. And then the really difficult one is physical touch. The research doesn't suggest waiting for marriage to have sex. That's a value for a lot of people. For other people, it's not their value. The research does say wait until a healthy, committed relationship. Wait until you've built everything and let sex be the top of the pyramid. The more physically involved you are with somebody, the more prone you are to think and believe that you are in love with them. Far better to hold off until you've got that sure foundation, and then you can know that you actually are in love, and physical intimacy is just the icing on the cake. Now, he also talks about an acronym called FACES: family backgrounds, attitudes of conscience, compatibility potential, examples of previous relationship, skills of communication. Family background. How did this person learn to show and receive affection? How did they learn to resolve conflict? If they come from a troubled family, it doesn't mean they're not going to be a good partner. It does mean you want to ask, what did they learn from that family? Are they going to maintain those patterns, or are they going to do things differently? And if they came from a happy family, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to follow suit. Families of origin are just our starting point, but it is important to see where they come from. Attitudes and actions of conscience. There's nothing more attractive than somebody who has a strong conscience. So see if they are who they seem to be, and see if they act with integrity. Now, before I continue on, when this video is done, I want to refer you to this other one, 4 tips to having a healthy relationship. I think you'll enjoy it. Check it out. It's so good. So good. Compatibility potential doesn't mean that you're the same. It just means that you go well together. Examples of past relationships. If they are constantly blaming their exes for everything instead of taking any accountability or talking about how they learn and grow, it's not a great sign, because it means that they tend to point the finger elsewhere. And then skills of communication. How do they resolve conflict? How do they show affection? Now, I can't give you a timeline, but I can say you need enough time before you marry somebody to go through all of this. Once again, that book is How to Avoid Falling in Love with a Jerk, but to go through and to make sure you really know them, to make sure you can really trust and rely on them, to make sure you want to commit to them, to make sure that you're dealing with somebody who has integrity, right? So go through all of these things, and whatever that timeline looks for you, I would say if it takes 3 months to actually know somebody, then maybe don't be getting engaged until at least 4 or 5 months. That would be my guideline, but it varies from person to person. Like I said, my sister had a radically different experience, worked out well for her. I've known a lot of other people that was not the case. Now, I want to hear from you. What is your experience with dating, engagement, marriage? How can you know if someone is a good fit for you, or equally important, if they're not a good fit for you? What has your experience shown? I want to hear in the comments below. Also, if you have a question for me for future Ask a Therapist segments, I'd love to answer it here on the air, so let me know about that in the comments below. If you enjoy what we're doing here at Mended Light, please like, comment, and share. Our mission is to help you heal and grow so you can be the best version of you possible and enjoy the fullest, richest relationships. Keep your light shining. We need you out there.